But yeah, I just jumped on the phones, and people are so scared to jump on the phones. But like, this is what I did to push past that fear when I was getting started. Think back to when you were a kid and you were making prank phone calls to Domino's or whatever it is.
Right.
This is the same thing. It's
Same
a
shit.
prank phone call, except you're taking it serious this time and trying to make money, you know? So that's how I treated it, you know? So what if it doesn't happen? It's going to be funny talking to all these random people.
Yeah. Look, pull in the spot. Ooh, watch how I drop. Believe it or not, this isn't all that I got. Yeah. They told me to rock, that's not how I rock. Now I gotta pop Madonna.
What's up, guys? Ricky in the Flip Lab. Today I'm joined by 18-year-old Jacob Blank. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, he's living out here in Phoenix, has a wholesaling business where he's in all these virtual markets. And tell the people, what does your business look like, and what have you done in sales over the past 6 months to a year?
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you for having me. So I'm Jacob. Currently in my business, I have 4 acquisition managers, 4 virtual admin assistants, and then 30 cold callers. And in Q1 of this year, we were able to do $400,000 in revenue. So we're on track to doing almost like $2 million this year, which is super amazing. And I've been able to go from 0 deals to 7 figures in 2 years, which has been awesome.
Damn, at 18 years old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, tell the people, like, that seems crazy probably for most. Like, most people at 18, they're like just graduating high school. They're trying to figure out like how to like buy some booze, you know, like on the corner or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've built like $1 million real estate business at 18. What's been your secret to success at such a young age?
Yeah. So I kind of got forced into getting into real estate, unlike, you know, just going the traditional route through high school, then to college. Real estate, just the opportunity jumped in my face and I had to take it. Back when I was 16 years old, in sophomore year of high school, I got super sick with mono, so I had to drop out so that way I could get rest. So I dropped out of traditional high school for online school. Now I had so much free time, right? So I'm sitting at home just knocking out my school and then having nothing to do with the rest of the day. Shortly after that, my dad, who's in real estate, got in a lawsuit with his old business partner on a house. And so my family was doing terrible. He was doing terrible. It just really messed us all up. And so I needed to get involved to be the glue between my family and help everyone get better from this situation. So my dad found a deal and wanted me to put $5,000 in on the deal. So I put that $5,000 in on the deal, did it from start to finish, and doubled my money. That's kind of how I got forced into getting into real estate. I needed to be with my dad every day. I needed to help my family get out of this financial situation with this lawsuit. And so I jumped into real estate, and then I found out about wholesaling. And I realized we could do a lot more deals than a flip would take us by wholesaling, right? The flip took us like 5 months. I doubled my money in 5 months. You know, that was amazing at 16 years old to be able to make that much money. But I realized we could have done 10 wholesale deals in the amount of time it took us to do this one flip. And that's when I shifted. But what makes me successful at this young age? It's my work ethic. I think I outwork most people. And I think that's how you get to be successful in real estate. It takes brute force in the beginning to make something happen.
Now, a lot of people out there, I think they are working pretty hard, but I think a lot of people, they don't work hard in the right avenue, right? They're not in like the right vehicle, something like real estate that they do work hard. You know, it's really going to pay off, or they're working hard, like doing the wrong things. Like, like new people I see, they're working really hard trying to get a deal, but they might be spending all like their whole day driving for dollars, which we could probably both agree it's not like the best use of your whole day if that's all you're doing to find a deal. So like when you were getting started, how did you know what was the right type of work that you should be doing on a daily basis? Did you have any mentors or people teaching you? Obviously your dad, I'm sure, helped a little bit. Yeah,
100%. So when I got into wholesaling and I started chasing after my first deal, the first thing I did was I printed out 1,000 flyers that said, "We buy houses cash, as is condition, we pay all closing costs, call me," right? And I printed out 1,000 of those flyers, and then I organized the list and mapped out the lates and the pre-foreclosures in my area off of the MLS so I could, you know, drive the right route, save the most time passing these flyers out. I'd knock on the doors. If they didn't answer, I'd tape it to their door with like blue painter's tape. But I quickly realized that was not maximizing my time. This was taking forever to drive around town.
Right.
And I'm driving around with my friends. So, we were messing around and whatnot too. So I was like, I need to switch this up. So then I did a little bit of bandit signs, and that's proactive marketing, not active marketing. Me putting out bandit signs means I'm waiting for them to call me. Why not call them and go after them? So then I switched to cold calling. I got a list and I got a dialer and I started calling 6 hours every day myself. Then I was getting a lot of leads and I didn't have enough time to follow up with the leads and produce new ones, right? So then I decided to hire cold callers. I realized in the beginning on a budget, doing cold calling is going to maximize most of your time, 100%. But also to add on that with, people doing the wrong things, I feel like people are just networking or they're analysis paralysis. They're learning all this different stuff. Oh, this guy says to do this. This guy says to do this. And they're doing like 10 things in a day instead of just going hard on one thing. And it would change everything if they did so.
Right. I think especially like people aren't spending enough time actually talking to sellers. Like whether it's cold callers or you, but it sounds like even when you just had a list, like you were actively like, doing the dirty work,
100%.
Talking to sellers, probably trying to make deals work. You weren't just, making a quick TikTok video and Instagram post like,
right.
Hey, send me some deals. And that's it. I'm not saying like I had Templeton Walker on earlier today and he's like the master of networking to get deals that way. But I mean, he has a lot of other ways to get deals, but I think people that are brand new, they don't want to do like the dirty, gritty work, like actually knock on the doors, call the sellers, get on the phones.
100%. You see people so often post, I'll give you $1,000 if you know anyone that wants to sell their house. That's great. You should be doing that. That takes 3 seconds. Do it every day. That is amazing. But what people like miss and they get blinded from is the reality of this business is we have to be talking to homeowners every single day, all day long, and comping property all day long. We have to be figuring out and analyzing property, analyzing deals, and talking to homeowners daily, all day long, for months on months, consistently. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. No deal is just going to come in front of your face. There's just no way. It's not going to show up. You got to be out there, conversating with these motivated sellers to make it happen.
Do you think like all marketing, in my opinion, like all marketing works? All these different avenues, right? Bandit signs, mailers, cold calling, ringless voicemails, PPC, SEO. Like, I think everything works, but you have to get good at every avenue in order for it to work.
Yeah. You got to pick whatever avenue you're going to pick and get good at it and do it consistently. To get good at it, you're going to do it consistently. And then it will work. Some marketing channels are harder in different markets. Some are harder to get into. Some cost more money, but they all work. It's just a matter of when is time going to catch up and that deal is going to hit.
Right.
But for me, cold calling always makes sense to get your first deal and to start. It's rudimentary. It goes back to the basics, calling people. How is it not going to work? So that's why people know that I'm in love with cold calling.
Yeah, dude, if I could like go back, like I left my corporate job at 26, you're 18.
Yeah.
Like wish I could go back and be where you're at. But I always tell people like if you're not going to get right into real estate, get like a cold calling sales job and get good at just talking. It don't even matter what you're selling over the phone, but just get good at talking to people and get good at being able to get someone on the phone, carry a conversation, try to get them to do something that you want. I think that skill is so valuable.
100%. I think forget real estate, forget all of it. Just being able to talk to people and conversate, just like this podcast, whatever it is,
right, is a
life skill that plays into any part of life, any job, anything. Being able to talk well and know what you're saying and be prepared will make you succeed in wherever you are.
Yeah, and I know like I had sales experience. I was cold calling for 4 years before I jumped in, so I felt like I had a kind of an edge on some people just getting into it with no sales experience. Unless you had a sales job at like 12 or something like that. I feel like you probably didn't have that experience. So did you just hit the phones and just
I just
failed
hit the
until
phones.
you succeeded?
I failed until I succeeded. Actually, the other day I found a video from 2019 of me shirtless in my living room cold calling and I sound like shit. I sound terrible. Like I can't believe this person was listening to me. But they still listened because I finally got through the intro to someone. They stuck on the phone and they didn't care that I was umming. I just was confident, so they listened.
Right.
But, from there till now, it's a whole different world with how I speak. But yeah, I just jumped on the phones. And people are so scared to jump on the phones, but like this is what I did to push past that fear when I was getting started. Think back to when you were a kid and you were making prank phone calls to Domino's or whatever it is.
Right.
This is the same thing. It's
Same
a prank phone call, except you're taking it serious this time and trying to make money. you know? So that's how I treated it, you know? So what if it doesn't happen? It's going to be funny talking to all these random people.
Your next
and,
no is you're
Yeah.
getting closer to your next yes. Is
and
what
you
I
got
would
to
always
count
tell.
the no's.
Right.
You got to count them, because that means you're going to get to a yes eventually. Took you 100 no's to get to this yes. You'll count next time and it'll say 94. So look, you got 6 no's better this time. So that's huge too.
And I'm sure it took you a lot of no's before you got that first yes.
100%. It took me 8 months to get my first deal. About 4 months in, I got a property under contract, but then found out about a bunch of foundation issues, and that completely killed the numbers and the deal canceled. But I didn't get discouraged. Maybe for that afternoon, I went and chilled out, like took a break.
Yeah.
But then the next day, back on the phone, picked it back up.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't see sometimes. Like, they'll probably see you now. I saw you were just at like the All-In event.
Yeah.
And probably people coming up to you, man, you're killing it.
Yeah.
But they probably didn't realize, like, you were just on a call a couple of years ago, like you said, sounding like shit, not knowing
100%.
what the hell to say to sellers. And I think they meet you and they think like you're the person you are today. You were that person 2 years ago.
100%.
And I think everyone's got to go through that learning curve and not get discouraged if they're not that good when they're first starting out.
I think a lot of people think like that we have some edge or something, but we're just human too. And this takes so much hard work. People don't realize it's not that easy. A lot of people make it look easy online, but it's really not. And actually today I'm speaking at the event in June in Dallas, and I was making a slideshow for it, and I was going through like our camera uploads on Dropbox of my cell phone and my dad's, and I was finding all the pictures from when I was, from 2019 till now. And literally the journey is just unreal. If people think I was me back then, I'm laying on the floor, putting zip ties through bandit signs and whatnot. This stuff is not easy. So
Right. So that was back then. I mean, today I know you said you've done 400 in wholesale so far.
Yeah, this year. We're at about like 550 right now, but
550,
Q1
we're
400.
in May of 2021.
Yeah.
So what does your operation look like right now for you to be doing, pacing for over $1 million this year?
Yeah. So our operation, we're going heavy on cold calling. We got between 26 to 30 cold callers at all times, depending on who's hired or fired. I have those 4. I think we have 5 now. We keep just hiring more assistants that are virtual, that do, help us sell the deals, Facebook, and then help me handle all my social media stuff that I do. So we have all that, and then we have 4 acquisition managers in the office. We're in 5 markets or 6 markets now. We just went into Pennsylvania today, but we're in Florida, Georgia, California, Texas, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. So that's really what has happened. We've kind of expanded to other markets, got more virtual, and stopped going to appointments ever, and just signing everything over the phone. And that's kind of been able to help us produce more deals.
Okay. So all these different markets, you're pulling lists, any certain list that you're pulling?
Yeah, we do like blanket marketing, pretty broad
high
marketing,
equity,
pretty much high equity. And then if we need more data, like we've ran through that a bunch, then we'll go and pull that market again with less equity, like down to 30% equity, or like we do it by years of residence. So normally we start in a market with 15 years plus residence, so they have a lot of equity, and then we'll drop down to 5 years or sometimes to 3 years plus.
Yeah, we kind of are doing the same. But it sounds like you have a shit ton of cold callers.
Yeah. So I knew it worked.
Is that kind of all you're doing?
Yeah. So we're doing SEO too,
okay.
Heavy on SEO, but we all know that's the long-term play. So we're getting a lot of leads. I'd say about 40 to 50 leads a month from SEO. Nothing too crazy, because obviously we're ranking for some things where there's less motivation and whatnot. But we're building that. And then we did do a little bit of SMS. We just cut it off. We were sending SMS daily to certain niche lists, but we cut that off. But we've mainly focused on cold calling because, like I said, it's rudimentary. It's back to the basics. It works. It got me my first deal. So when I got my first deal, I had 2 cold callers. Right when I got that deal, got the check in my hands, went to 4. After that, 5, 6, then jumped to 8, then to 12. And then I was at like 18 cold callers at the end of last year. And I was like, we got to ramp this up. We're going into a new year. So I was like, let's bump it to 30. And we went like to 26. And
I think that's probably a reason why you've been able to grow so fast too. I think a lot of 18-year-olds, it's like they make that first wholesale check, find some dumb shit, some Gucci sandals or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
kids are buying these days.
Yeah, or they're chilling out.
Right,
too.
or they're just chilling out.
Like, even forget buying the stupid
you're making
stuff.
like, right.
Taking a break.
Taking a break.
What a 18-year-old would do.
But you know, you handled it like a freaking man, and you're like, okay, I'm going to reinvest this.
Yeah.
I'm going to, you know, just put more into the business and just focus on just growing the business
100%.
and not just focus on the money that you're making necessarily, which I think is easy when you're first doing this, and you might just be used to like making 10, 15 bucks an hour, and then you do a wholesale deal and make 20 grand in one day.
Yeah.
It's like a real kind of eye-opening moment.
For sure. And then, you know, there's challenges of being this young and having, you know, a good amount of money and making a good amount of money to, you know, navigate through life, friendships.
How do you deal with like that? Because I don't think I would have been ready at your age to have my own business and make all those sacrifices of like, I was a shithead at 18,
Yeah.
dude. Like I was just going out, partying, doing
Right.
that. Like, how do you find that balance to still enjoy your youth, but grow a business at the same time?
Yeah. So I've been a shithead too, you know,
Yeah.
but I like decided when I was 16, like to just be great. Like I decided to like try to do something now, because I never wanted to go to college. I hated school. So I was like, let me do something. I was always money motivated. So, you know, I saw this happening eventually. I always knew I had something special. You know, I felt it. But, you know, there's challenges. Like I feel like, especially nowadays, my generation, we grow up watching these rappers, all these people on Instagram that are portraying this super rich life, right? And you think, oh, life's going to be great. I'm going to be super happy if I have this car, this amount of money, whatever it is. So it's been interesting, you know, to get money, get the dream car, whatever it is, and then be like, okay, this stuff doesn't make you happy. Figure it out. And so it's been cool. I think it's great to be learning those type of things, going through those type of things at a young age, because then I'm going to be way ahead of the game mentally on those type of levels. But I still hang out with my friends on the weekends. I can't relate to them that well. You know, I'm on a whole different planet, a whole different way of thinking than pretty much everyone around me. So it's interesting, and I don't really know how to explain it, you know?
Yeah. I think what I went through, because I was a little older than you, you know, probably I had that moment at like 24, 25, like 4 years. I'm 28 now. But when I was going through that, at first, when I like got into self-development and reading like some of these books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, I was like, oh my God, like everyone needs to get on this wave. Like I've discovered this new thing.
Yeah.
But if you try pushing that on friends that just aren't about that life, you're not going to get, you know, good feedback from that. From your friends.
100%.
They're just going to tell you like, dude, take that shit somewhere else. Like you've changed. You're not the same. You think you're better than us and all that stuff.
Yeah. Something interesting about that too is the funny thing is when you start to, you know, come up and build a business and people are seeing it on social media, you're doing well. You'd think that your close circle, your really close friends would be, you know, Jacob, how are you doing this? And asking like so many questions, you know, like, I want to do this. Can you give me some advice? No, it's like the acquaintances that you have a connection with, but like you don't ever see, but you've met, you know, you've talked before.
Right.
They're the ones asking when you'd think your circle would be asking, but no, it's weird. And I wish they would. I'd love to help my close friends out, but I'm not going to go out of my way, obviously, to teach them this and motivate them or whatever it is if they're not asking, right? Just like you said, how are they going to take it?
Yeah. And I think it's tough too. Like, I think I was fortunate I'm blessed with like a bunch of childhood friends.
Yeah.
But they're in New Jersey where I grew up for
Yeah.
the most part. I don't see them that often. So when we get together, it's just like, dude, we're just enjoying each other's time, right?
Yeah.
We're not hanging out every weekend.
Right.
Just talking about a lot of it is just catching up on life when we see each other. So I think that helps me keep those relationships just where they were, because I'm not having to talk about life every day with them.
Right.
If I was, and dude, all my friends out here, it's just business ideas, like all this stuff. Probably me and you would just be like, dude, that's all I talk about too, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I associate with a lot of friends like you these days. But I think for me, it helped that I was able to kind of separate that, because like I love my homies back home, but they don't give a shit really what I'm up to with all these cameras, YouTube, like they're not gonna watch this shit. I can say whatever the hell I want about them. I know they're not gonna watch it because not because they don't love me, but it's like they're not on that same wavelength.
And it's interesting, right? It's very interesting.
But I don't think that makes us any better than them. It's just you have to. But if you are on that wavelength, latch on to guys like us or someone.
Yeah.
And
everyone has their own way of going down life. So, you know.
So besides
And something funny, one more thing about that too, is like, you know how you're saying your friends here, it's business strategy, talk. It's like I'm too young to do that, you know, too, to just hang out with those type of people every weekend too.
Right.
So it's like I'm just in this weird space.
Yeah, it's good though, man. When people see a young guy like you know, doing what you're doing, I think like you're just gonna accelerate so much faster than other people. You know, your exponential growth starting at 18 is just like you're 10 years from where I am, and I feel like when I talk to people, like I'm like, damn, I'm young, I got the head start. So you'll be fine, man. Just probably a couple different learning curves
100%
than people later on when they're trying to start it with a family and a wife, and that's kind of a whole different dynamic.
Yep.
So where do you see yourself heading, you know, over the next 5 years? Because you are young. You know, do you think a lot about the future and where you're heading?
It's hard because I've gotten to a place so fast in 2 years that, you know, and at such a young age that it's like unimaginable already, right? So it's really hard to imagine 5 years down the road and whatnot. But it's really hard. But there's a new goal of $10 million. I'm going to try to figure out how to get there. And that's like a 2-year goal, 2-3 year goal. So. And I don't know exactly what avenue I'm going to get there. It's definitely going to be other things than real estate too. But that's kind of what I'm figuring out now. Now that I've got some money, figured out how to build a business to 7 figures, now how do I position to, you know, 8 figures? That's what I'm going to try to figure out.
So do you have an office right now?
Yep.
And how many people work out of that office?
Yeah, we have 4 people in there right now.
Okay.
But we're hiring in about 2 weeks. So if you want to look out on my Instagram and you're in Arizona, you could possibly come work too.
Just see yourself doubling down on more leads essentially, or adding different marketing channels possibly?
Yeah, we're going to be going into PPC a little bit. We have done PPC in the past, but turned it off. We're going to try to run it ourselves this time. So we're going to look into that.
What would you say your total monthly overhead is right now between marketing, the office, employees?
In marketing, we're spending about $22,000 a month, and then $8,000 in overhead and employees in office. So like $30,000 a month.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, dude, I think that's like a lot of people that I hear who are doing it virtual. It sounds like that's almost like the minimum threshold, but it sounds like you're staying pretty lean.
Yeah. I don't think 30 grand's a lot. I mean,
no, not with that many.
We're still at a 60-40 business like that. Yeah. And that, you know, we're all blessed to be in this business, us wholesalers, because it's a 60-40 business. You don't see that in a lot of businesses.
No, it's
this much profit.
It's crazy. It's like, you know, some like a PPC click, right? People in real estate bitch. It's like, oh, it's $40 a click.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, HVAC guys are paying $40 for a click, and they might make $2,000 on a job or something like that. One click for us could be $100,000 flip.
Right, and it's $200 a click, or
or whatever. It's like the ROI though off a click. Like we can see it so much.
It's all relative, but people don't look at it that way.
Right. When you compare to other industries, I think wholesaling is one of the lowest costs for how much revenue you can make in your first couple of years.
100%.
I don't think there's many other businesses quite like that, how you can scale a wholesaling real estate business.
100%.
What would you say, being virtual, what's the biggest challenge for you being in all these virtual markets?
Yeah, most of the time, because I always tell people, they're like, should I find buyers before I even go after my first deal? No. So we just jump into these markets, we lock up a bunch of deals. We're not sure exactly if we have them at a good enough price to be able to sell it easily. So a lot of times, right when we get in that market, it's really hard to move these deals. We're only making $3,000 to $8,000 on the first couple, and we got to figure out how to sell them. We got to find a buyer, and I think that's just the most challenging, because you know how to lock them up. You know you're going to send the marketing out. You know you're going to get leads back. You know you can close. So then we have all these deals, and it's like, oh, now we got to find people that we can't just cold call, you know?
Right.
It's like different.
I know what we found was hard too is like I would lock up some virtual deals. I remember we locked up this one in California. It was like a shed. I think a crackhead was living in it. We don't even know, but we locked up for $5,000. And it was like 2 hours outside LA, Boron, California, had like 5,000 population. We're like, I don't know if we're ever going to sell this. Dude, everyone wanted this deal. We had a bunch of people, sold it for like 27, made like over 20 racks on it. It was cool. But then we've had other deals like in like Cleveland or something, or Little Rock, Arkansas, where we were like, oh, this is a good deal. Then we went to sell it, and everyone went to the properties like, no, we don't want it. And we're like, what? Like, so I thought dispo was extremely challenging, just knowing what's a deal, what's not a deal.
And like some markets, there's certain zip codes where no one will buy.
Yeah.
And like if you're in Florida and it's made out of wood, no one wants it because of termites.
In New Jersey, we have like,
you know,
do you ever ask about underground oil tanks?
Mm-mm.
So in New Jersey, like before the 60s, they would put oil tanks underground.
Yeah.
They'd bury them because they thought that was like a good spot for them. But they didn't know, like, 50, 60 years pass, they get all fucked up underground.
Yeah.
They start leaking. Dude, it could cost 40, 50 grand to fix contaminated soil.
That's like septic tanks.
Right.
Minus the well, I guess the soil does get contaminated too.
It's a massive problem.
I was going to make like a $40K deal in Terrebonne, Oregon. It's a 2,000 population town. I was just like, let's lock it up. So that's another thing, right? We're talking about how some sell. We thought it wasn't a deal, but we locked it up for $5 grand and made 20 or 22 grand. And we had no idea. You guys got to be shooting your shot way more. I locked up a deal. Everyone, all these big players in town that helped me sell my deals back then was like, don't lock this up for more than 150. I locked it up for 207 after talking to the seller for like a year, trying to get them down to 160. And I go, what can we sell it for? And he's like, we can sell it for 150, what I told you. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go for it. I put 15K on each of the properties. They were all on the same lot. And I sold it and made like 52K total. And it got sold up another 50K. So it ended at 300. He told me to sell it at 150. You just never know what's going to happen.
Shoot your shots, guys.
Yeah. And in Oregon, this deal, 2,000 population, how would I know that I was going to find a buyer? So I just started calling, seller sites. I did Terrebonne, sell my house fast, right? And then I was trying to find a mom and pop little website, right?
Right.
Found this guy, but because I was in town, he manipulated me, told me the septic was bad. A septic person went out, but I think he made it seem like it was going to cost a lot more than it was. But I made 15 grand still.
You guys both made out pretty well.
Yeah, and this was right at COVID.
Right.
And so he was taking a big risk.
Yeah.
But I spoke with him the other day. He made a lot of money on that deal, which is great for him.
Right, when everyone could win. So that's amazing, man. What you're doing at 18 is just so crazy. And it should inspire everyone that no matter where they're at now, by 18, you could be wholesaling $1 million a year in real estate.
100%.
Where do people find you if they want to learn more about you, send you deals, things like that?
Yep. You can find me at Jacob Blank on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just reach out there. Also, jacobblank.com. You could go to jacobblank.com and find everything there.
Cool, man. Excited to see you grow here in Phoenix.
Thank you.
Keep crushing it.
Awesome.
And thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.